Hey there, nerds! Welcome to another episode of Two Nerdy Dads. With me, as always, is Jason Applegate. Say hey, Jason.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And I would imagine it is chilly here in Nevada, so I really hope it's brutally cold in Michigan.
Actually, it's been fairly mild. Like last week we had like 70-degree weather. I was like, what is going on? And then it finally got cold this week, but even the cold has only been like, I haven't had to wear my winter coat yet. Just sweaters, and that's about it. So, I know it gets like 60 in Vegas and people are wearing sweaters and stuff, but
Yeah, I'm
here.
freezing, and I think it's like 50.
That's awesome.
It's
That's
it's
awesome.
it's really awful because you know obviously I'm from Ohio and I have Ohio
Yeah.
roots. You get out here and you become a wuss. It's like your blood just thins, and you're like, "Ooh, I gotta wear a sweatshirt. It's only 80 today."
Right? But
Yeah.
then you get that brutally hot weather where the wind's blowing in your face and it feels like you've got 6 people with hair dryers just like blasting you right in the cheeks.
I don't
Not fun.
understand. You get brutal. That's awesome. That's comfortable. I love
Oh, oh, last time I was there, that was the summer day, and the wind just made it worse because it literally did feel like there was somebody had a hair dryer and they were just blowing it right at your face. It was the worst. You couldn't wait to get inside the casinos. It's no wonder they make so much money.
it. Yes, that's why.
That's what I think, right? It's got to be.
Speaking
Let's get
of
into it.
family wholesomeness,
Yes.
let's talk about the movie that was released this past weekend.
Yeah, you and I both got a chance to take our families to see the Peanuts movie, which I have to say, when I saw the trailer for it, I was like, oh man, like really, like this is my childhood. It's like the classics, and it's like, are they gonna just trample all over this? I don't know if you've seen the newer holiday movie versions. Like they'll show the old school, Christmas Charlie Brown, and then they'll show the new one like right after it, and they're terrible. They're just awful, and I can't stand watching them. On the DVDs they'll have both of them on there, and I'll just watch the old one, and then my kids will be like, "Come on, let's watch the new one." I'm like, "Well, you guys can, but I am not watching the new one. I just do not like it." So I was thinking this is going to be the same thing. I'm just going into it really expecting to be disappointed. And I was not. I thought it was fantastic. I really thought that they did an excellent job of paying tribute to the originals, not just the holiday classics that have been around for years and years and years, but also the comic strips, some of the things from Schultz's, from his actual Sunday comics were fantastic, and the computer generated images, which initially I thought, I don't know. I thought they worked, and I loved how they also incorporated the 2D animation in there too, when they would have thoughts and it would be drawn out in the old school Schultz style. I was like, I just thought as a whole, this was a perfect example of how you can take something, reboot it, make it fresh, but still pay tribute to the authenticity of the original piece that everybody loves.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was very cool, updated 3D animation by the same folks who did Ice Age,
Mhm.
and there was a Dr. Seuss one in there. I can't remember which. Maybe it was Horton Hears
Or here's
Who.
Who. Yeah, and the
Yeah,
other one
probably
about
the other
the
one.
Lorax maybe too.
Yeah, the Lorax. That's what it was. Blue Sky Studios. They did a fantastic job. But it was great, like you said about the animation. Their facial expressions still looked like the hand-drawn expression from the 60s cartoon. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
I loved how the focus was on Charlie Brown. And I'll be honest, I reached a point in the movie where I'm like, this poor guy is never going to get a win.
Yeah.
My Lord, this could be an awful movie. Like I really thought, my Lord, they're updating this movie to the 2000s.
Go dark.
Exactly. And they're going to make this poor Charlie Brown not win. And that's going to be like the movie. He's going to have to learn to be a loser. And I'm like, oh, man, this is rough.
Yeah.
But we have Charlie Brown being Charlie Brown. But what's cool is the story really is sort of outlined or backboned by Snoopy. And Snoopy is writing his memoirs, his book, and he interjects some of his old school stuff with the Red Baron and his
Yeah.
love affair with Fifi, which is really cool. But he's also writing the script for Charlie at the same time,
Yeah.
which I thought was very cool how they played that out. And then the resolution where, spoiler alert, Charlie doesn't always lose. That was really touching and really nice. And it really was the first time since, like, obviously we didn't see it the first time it was aired, the Christmas special and the Halloween special.
Right.
So it was the first time since watching those movies as kids where I was like, wow, they really nailed Peanuts. They really got it right this time, which I really appreciated and I really enjoyed. And I thought the music was great. My kids loved it. I thought it was perfect. It really was.
Yeah, and I saw in the credits that the Schultz were involved in the film as producers, and I didn't look into it too much further to see if they were involved in much of the creative process. But I wonder if that's the difference.
His two sons wrote it.
Okay, good. So that, I mean, that's just right there. Again, we always say it goes back to writing, and so I think you could really see the love of that. And I doubt that they were involved in those cartoons I was referencing before, because they just didn't seem to have that same authenticity. I also thought that the voice actors were great. I thought they did an excellent job, and they also were they sounded a lot like the ones that we grew up with. And you're right, like, we didn't see them when they first aired, but the first time we ever saw those cartoons was when they were on TV. They didn't have it on VHS, and certainly they didn't have it on DVD when we were kids, but that was when you saw them, and you saw them the one time that they aired before that holiday. So the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, you sat down as a family and you watched that Friday night or whatever night that it aired, because that was the one time it aired and everybody watched it. Same thing for the Christmas one. So we hold that pretty dear in my household, those cartoons. And so it was really good to see that this was successful, and that it was, I think you're right. I think the story was also what made it good. To see Charlie Brown, and the little redhead girl finally, become pen pals at the end was just, that's what you were hoping was going to happen all along. And all the things that he does that goes wrong, as you're watching it, you're saying, yeah, but he's doing the right thing. I loved, like, my feels got tugged when he saves his sister in the talent show. He goes out there and he gives up his own little magic trick thing that he was going to do to save his sister, and that that hit me with having my my son, and thinking I could see him doing the same thing for his little sister too. So that was cool. But just the idea of, and I think it's something that our kids need to hear more even nowadays, is that it's not about being a winner or a loser. It's about doing the right thing and putting other people before yourself, which is what he did throughout the entire movie.
That's the perfect way to sum it up. The two things that I wanted to add, it was rated G. I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie rated G. Even like the Pixar, the Disney, the Muppets, those aren't rated G anymore. That's what I saw that and I'm like, that was really cool. And going to the wholesome thing, I wasn't sure how he was going to react, but the one part, again, spoiler alert, when he finds out he wasn't the one that aced that test, but it was Peppermint Patty,
right?
And he told the truth. And I don't know how often that would happen in today's day and age, but to see him take the high road and be like, that's not mine, after he's been through a lot of losing moments, that was awesome. I really, those moments, like the one you said with him defending Sally, it's like, yep, that's what makes Charlie Brown, and that's what made the redheaded girl like him. So I thoroughly enjoyed the flick.
I agree with that. I also liked the slight satirical jab at standardized testing there, being a teacher as well. That Peppermint Patty gets the highest score because she makes a smiley face out of the bubbles, and that gets the highest score. So it was amusing. On to a bit of a more melancholy news and a bummer was I know we were all hoping, a lot of nerds all the way, all around the world, Star Wars nerds in particular, were hoping that this gentleman, Daniel Fleetwood, who had sort of put out the plea, he was terminally ill with, it was with cancer, is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
I believe so too. And he wanted to, be able to get an advanced screening of the Star Wars movie. And so it was going viral, trying to get that to happen. And unfortunately, he passed away recently. I believe it was today.
It was earlier in the week, I believe.
It was earlier in the week. Okay, I just saw the news today, but I've been kind of in a cave a little bit this week, so it's a bummer to see that happened. I don't know, what are your thoughts on the whole thing? Did you hear any more news? Was it going to be a go, and then unfortunately the guy ran out? Oh, he did get to see it. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
then. At least
he got to see it. He passed away 5 days after he saw it.
Okay.
So it's very cool. It was one of those things where it's a no-brainer, Disney. You've got to do this. You'd be ridiculous not to do this. It reminds me of, I don't remember which Pixar movie. It might have been Finding Nemo. There was a little girl who made a similar request, and in that case, it was Pixar was trying to render the movie to actually finish it so that she could see it. And it was coming down to the wire because whereas this movie's kind of been done for a while, it was originally supposed to come out in the summer, and then script problems and Harrison Ford getting hurt, it got pushed back. So it's been done. But in the Pixar case, they were rushing to render that, to get it done for this little girl. And she was younger. Daniel was 32. This other little girl, I think she was like 9 or 12, somewhere in that range. And they got it in. They barely got it in, and she passed away not too long after. But it was another one. Again, both related to the House of the Mouse with Disney there. But, yeah, it was a no-brainer. Disney had to come through. I believe J.J. Abrams was in on it, and they all worked to get him to see this movie. And, yeah, he did. Unfortunately, I think he passed away on Tuesday.
Well, I'm glad to hear that they got it through because I hadn't heard that aspect of it. I had missed that. Like I said, I guess I was in a cave really more than I thought I was. But that's fantastic that he did at least get to see it. But certainly – our condolences go out to his friends and family, because certainly, gosh, 32 years young is, it's a bummer. But glad to hear that happened and he got to see that. That's cool.
And maybe even cooler than seeing the movie when he passed away that day. All over the internet, all I saw was Daniel's now one with the Force.
Oh, that's cool.
Man, I know people have different religious beliefs and their creators and all that, but man, when I go, if everybody I know says Jimmy's one with the Force now, I'll be in seventh heaven.
There you go. I thought that
was very cool.
That is very cool.
Going away from Star Wars, we have some Star Trek news. It's not the movie though; it's the TV show. CBS, specifically Les Moonves, who's head of the whole network. Not necessarily in passing, but it's brought up that there's going to be a new Star Trek series in the works, and it's going to be headed by Alex Kurtzman, which you might realize he was working with J.J. Abrams and Robert Orci working on Star Trek Reboot and the Star Trek Into Darkness. On the third entry, J.J. obviously left to go do Star Wars. Robert Orci and Alex were supposed to be working on it, writing a script and potentially co-directing. And from what we've heard, the script was really bad. And if I remember correctly, they were working to try and bring back William Shatner as James T. Kirk and sort of double dipping into the time travel thing, kind of like they did with Leonard Nimoy. And it just sounded like a nightmare, absolute nightmare. So they were jettisoned, let go. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that Alex don't know. Paramount owns the film rights. CBS owns the TV rights. They do not work together. They couldn't care less about each other. They really are separate entities. But the other bit of that news was Les Moonves really made it a point that they're doing this to really gain a stronger foothold in the video on demand. And I'm not familiar with this, but CBS's brand seems to be all access. That's what he kept referring to. They're all access. Again, I'm not familiar with it, but he was comparing it to Netflix and Hulu, which is surprising because I'm very familiar with those two. but that's what he wants to do, is make another Star Trek series, so people will go to All Access and watch it. So I don't even know if it's going to be on network TV or if it's going to be on this platform. He compared it to all the other Star Trek series do very well on video on demand, and internationally they are really jonesing for another entry in the series. My concern is, and I'm not a TV Star Trek fan at all, I haven't watched any of them on a regular basis, I've caught one here or there, is that it's only getting made to make money. It's not getting made for the fans or any kind of loyalty to what's happened in the past, and that concerns me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Like, I've watched some Star Trek here and there, mostly. You know, my exposure to Star Trek has been through, you know, roommates or friends of mine that were big Trekkies, and so they would watch it, and so you know, I'm not gonna make them change the channel or whatever. Like, I'll watch it with them. I think most of them were Next Generation fans. If I had to watch a Star Trek series, I like the good old cheesy Captain Kirk, you know, the Gorn and the, you know, that stuff, just because I think it's kind of fun. And I like that kind of retro stuff anyway, but not good news. It does seem to reek of a money grab, which is a bummer. And I just wonder, like, is that going to be worth it? It seems like, you know, the sort of, you know, on demand or all access or whatever you want to call it, the streaming video stuff where you subscribe to it. I don't know. Hasn't it sort of hit its, you know, would it be to have more of those channels or more of those options? Because don't they have like a PlayStation one too? And you know, where there's going to be some series that you can only watch on the PlayStation or on the Xbox or one of those two things. It's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old and I'm like, oh, there's too many of these things going around. But
Well, it is weird. And now that I think about it, it is CBS. Like, I will watch things online, and I pay for cable. And most of those networks have a deal where, because I have my Cox cable, I get to watch them online, not a problem. CBS is the one holdout where I can't access their channels without a subscription. And
yeah,
I wanted to watch the new, I don't even remember the name of it, the new Colin Hanks sitcom. I'm a big fan of Colin Hanks. Couldn't do it unless I signed up for this subscription. And they were going to give me 1 week free, but after that it was $9.99. And I'm like,
ah,
what is this? And the same with
yeah,
Supergirl, because that's also on CBS.
right.
So I guess that's what they're trying to do. But to your point, man, everybody has one of these now. Or you get it with
Late to the game.
an agreement with your Cox, not Cox, but your cable company, or if you have DirecTV or whatever.
Right.
Or you can do like Netflix or Hulu. And Netflix, I know you have to wait like a year for them to get them if they have an agreement. And Hulu, I believe you can get it, but then you like maybe get like the most recent 6 episodes or something. So it's really odd that all right, let's make our own platform. It's like, really? Because I don't believe CBS is that big. Now, I know they have Showtime as well, and Showtime has a lot of great channels too, or great shows too, but it's like, really? Are you guys that big that you can do this? I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bummer. Hopefully that, you know, if it is that, then it just bombs out and then that's the end of it. And no, because I mean, Trekkie fans aren't stupid and they're pretty picky. I mean, of fans, I don't know. Is there a pickier fan than a Trekkie fan?
Well,
Maybe
let's preface that. You said they're not stupid. They already
yeah.
chose to love Star Trek. So right there,
Ouch.
that already puts them on the low end of the bell curve there. Yeah, I said it.
Great. We lost, you know, 4 of our 7 viewers. Good job, Jimmy.
Yes, it's worth it. We're Star Wars.
No, but it's like, you know, they're not, in other words, they're not of the, like, you know, Twilight style of fans where they're just going to watch anything that has anything to do with, you know, sparkly vampires, you know, or whatever. Like they know what they want, they know what they like. And if this is just a, you know, a trashy version of it that's been thrown together for a money grab, they'll smell that from a mile away, and it'll just bomb out. But maybe it's gonna be something that's good, and then that takes off. I don't know. I did like Supergirl though, so CBS hasn't done everything terribly. Speaking of streaming, Jessica Jones, I believe, comes out this next weekend. I think I want to say it's November 20th, but I could be wrong. That could just be a date in my head for 1,000 other things. But I'm excited about it. It's the first sort of spin-off, or I guess I don't know if you'd call it a spin-off of Daredevil, but it's in the same universe as the Daredevil Netflix series is. And then of course we've got the Luke Cage one that'll shortly follow. So I'm geeked about it, and I did get the chance to actually start reading the Alias series, which came out, I believe, in the early 2000s. I want to say it came out around when the television show Alias was on TV, which had what's her face in it. That ended up being Elektra in the terrible movie.
Jennifer Gardner.
Jennifer Gardner, thank you. That show. And so I remember seeing it on the comic book shelves, and it was called Marvel Max because it was the adult rated comic books, and they had language and certainly content in there that was not for that was for mature readers. And so I saw it and I thought, I associated it with that television series that had Jennifer Gardner, and I'm like, I don't really want to get into that. Well, apparently I was mistaken, and it's about this character, Jessica Jones, who now has her own series. And I've heard nothing but good things about it. I believe Brian Michael Bendis was the writer for it, and so I wanted to read it before the Netflix series came out. Well, you can't find a graphic novel version of it anywhere. They're about to re-release it because of the series coming out, but everything else is out of print. Like, it did go to graphic novel for one printing, but then it went out of print. So I was very lucky, and I ended up finding a complete collection of the series on eBay for a decent price. So I ended up getting that, and I've worked my way through the first story arc. And I have to say, if this Netflix series is as good as the Brian Michael Bendis series that he wrote, just in the first story arc, I'm hooked. Like, it's a fantastic central character. She's a great protagonist. She's very down to earth, just an everyday kind of person. Even her superpowers are sort of like, like she's not the most powerful person. She can't fly. She can kind of, she can kind of jump, really high. She's kind of invulnerable. She's kind of super strong. There's one instance where she's like, I think I'm bulletproof, but I don't really want to find out, And so it's kind of cool that she doesn't even know really the extent of her powers. And what she is a private detective. So she's earning a living as a private investigator. And it raises, even just the first story arc raises a whole bunch of interesting issues about being, a female superhero and stuff. And so I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it. Ideally, I want to finish the comic series. It's, I believe, 28 issues before the Netflix series hits, but I don't think with my schedule I'm going to be able to. But I'd like to at least get a couple more arcs in before the Netflix series starts. So I recommend it to everybody if you get a chance. I know maybe when the graphic novel comes back out after the series, the Netflix series opens, take a look at it because it's good stuff.
That's cool. I really only know of her in other stories like Civil War.
Yeah.
Where I believe Luke Cage stayed behind, but she took their child and went to Canada to escape it. And the House of M, He kind of shows up dating Scott Lang. And what was the other one? Oh, Shadowland, Daredevil Shadowland. She was in Heroes for Hire. But yeah, I really don't know of her other than reading those side stories. So I'm curious to learn more.
Yeah, I am too, and it's if you get a chance, check out the Bendis series because I'm not sure if she was a character before he wrote that series. It's something I'll have to look into. I'm definitely going to write an article on the on her as a character for my Feminist Fanboy series because I think she's awesome so far from what I've read. And
well, it's cool because it looks like, I don't know if this was what do you call it, backdated, sort of retconned, but it looked like she was there and she had a crush on Peter Parker when he got bit by the radioactive spider. And I only know this because I was reading it on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And her name was Jessica Campbell. And she was there when he got bitten. And she had a celebrity crush on Johnny Storm. And on the way, her dad got tickets to go to Disneyland from his boss, Tony Stark. And on the way to Disneyland, they had an accident with a radioactive truck, of course.
Of course.
Radioactive chemicals. And the family died. She survived, was in a coma, and was adopted by the Jones family. So that's how it becomes Jessica Jones. So
that sounds retcon to me.
I just read it on Wikipedia, so I don't know if this is from a book or if this is Bendis retconning it. I don't know where this came from, but it cracked me up. I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. She's kind of always been there, but not really. And that radioactive chemicals, that was what gave her powers. Where she didn't fully get awesome powers. And she didn't know how good her powers are. Like you said, she doesn't want to really test getting hit by a bullet.
Yeah.
But, it's an interesting story.
I'm looking at it now. Now, her first appearance is in Alias #1, which was November 2001. So all that stuff's been retconned in. So knowing that, I'm going to really look forward to reading this because because when Bendis is writing her, he has her as she was one of the members of the Avengers, but like who hasn't been an Avenger, you know what I mean? And it's kind of funny that she was like some member of it for a little while, and she has a relationship with Carol Danvers. Like she goes to her for some help, but Danvers doesn't really want to help her because something happened. And they in the first story arc they don't explain what it was. But that, Bendis is really good at writing about relationships, especially dysfunctional ones, and the ways that that those are, how adult relationships can be complicated, and the way that he sort of unfurls the story so far is very intriguing because you believe the way he writes it. You believe, like I believed. She must have been a character, from the 80s or something that was on, the Avengers for a couple of, issues here or there or something. Because, his writing's that convincing. But no, as a matter of fact, that's when he was created. He was created by Bendis for Alias #1. And they've, she's become so popular, they've retconned her even into Spider-Man stories and stuff. So it's kind of funny.
And when did that come out, Alias #1?
2001. So I was on the money with the early 2000s. So
it makes sense. That's when I was not in comics. So
yeah,
no wonder why I had no idea who she was.
Right, and that does seem that was around when that Alias, like, what is the the timing of that? That television show was out and super popular, because that's what I remember specifically. I'm like, why is Marvel? That seems like a Dark Horse, because Dark Horse would always do that, like take a movie or something like that and make the comic book version of it. I'm like, why is Marvel doing this? That's just weird. And why is it rated M for mature? And I just was confused by it. And just one of those marketing things. So anyway, check it out if you get a chance, especially if when you watch Jessica Jones on Netflix, you like it. Check out where it came from. So
definitely very cool.
All right, well, the only other news that I saw was something I just happened to come across, and it just cracked me up, is that there may be another Masters of the Universe movie coming out, and the rumor is that this bodybuilder, Mike O'Hearn, who I guess also used to be an American Gladiator, has been cast as He-Man. I don't know if this is confirmed or not. I've just seen it on several of those, of the comic book websites and things. And when you look at pictures of him, yeah, he looks like He-Man, but who wants to actually look like He-Man in real life? Unless you're a bodybuilder, I guess. But I hope this isn't going to actually happen. That's the only thing I can say, is that I hope that this doesn't happen. It just gives me flashbacks of Dolph Lundgren. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on a Masters of the Universe movie?
They don't. How can I say this? They don't have much of a hurdle to jump.
True.
To make it better.
True.
but it doesn't sound like they're trying to make it better. I don't know. I think there was an updated cartoon. Gosh, maybe it was
Yeah,
10 years
there
ago.
was the Cartoon Network. Yeah, it was
And
all right.
I thought that was great.
Yeah,
Maybe they should just stick to animation with this guy because that was great. The original 80s cartoon was great. The live action with Dolph Lundgren, and oh my God, it was so bad. Like, and it cracks me up because Dolph Lundgren's actually, he's got like a PhD. Dude is smart.
yeah.
But you see that and you're like, whoa, wow, dude. And the cast, I don't know when you last saw it. I just looked it up.
Yeah.
Frank Langella, the Skeletor. He's an
Yeah.
amazing actor.
He was. Yeah. No, I
Courtney
watched it.
Cox was in it.
Well, that was her start. That was the only thing she had been in before that was the what's his face
The
video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like I watched a documentary. It was a short one. I think it was on YouTube. On He-Man, the Masters of the Universe movie. And that was one of the points that they made was that that it was Courtney Cox's first, sort of her. I wouldn't call it a breakout movie, but it was her first film role. And they had some interesting stories about her being cast in the role and how like she had come to auditions and she had all this makeup on and was, and they were like, you know what, come back tomorrow. Don't wear any makeup. Just wear the regular clothes that you wear every day. And she came back and nailed the role because that's what they wanted was like a girl next door. And so all these things sort of like fell into place for it even to have been made. But it all also fell apart so that I guess at the end, like they were filming it literally as people from the production company are coming in and taking things away off the set. They're like, no, you're done. They're like removing equipment and taking the set away. And they had to like film the last fight scene like in the dark practically because the lights were they were taking everything. And it was the actors and the crew members and everybody agreed to just do it for free because nobody was going to get paid for that day to be able to finish the movie. And the performance by the villain, the actor who plays the villain, is actually pretty darn good. And they ended up sort of rewriting it from when I was watching the documentary to kind of tweak it so that he got more screen time and got more of the story. And the story almost circles around him. And He-Man's almost a sort of secondary kind of character to Skeletor. And it was just it's phenomenally bad, I guess, is the best way that you can talk about it. And it's almost a cult classic, because it's almost good enough to be where you would watch it just for how bad it is.
Okay.
But it was, I think that what I saw was it was like 20 reasons why Masters of the Universe is so bad it's good. And then there was a link to a documentary on it. So check that out. So it reminded me of that. And then it reminded me of, there was another documentary that I saw at a different time that was on the Masters of the Universe cartoons. And we've talked about this before, that they were made so that they could, sell the toys and things like that. But I guess it was also the first serialized cartoon or whatever, to where it was being, I think you mentioned it was one of the first cartoons to be shown not on Saturday mornings, that was shown Monday through Friday. And they actually had 160 episodes that they had basically created, and they're like, hey, pick us up because we can pump out all these episodes like this, and then it'll sell the toys for you. And that's how they got that cartoon even made. So yet another example of something that may never have existed, that they were going literally to, I guess, these sort of like conferences, these television conferences with their, their idea and their like cutout of the drawings. And they said, hey, we've got all these episodes. They're animated. They're ready to go. There's 160 of them. Just sign us up and you've got it. And they were the first and broke the mold. And now we have lots of those kinds of things. In other words, at one point they said, somebody that was narrating said, there would be no Cartoon Network, there would be no Nickelodeon if it wasn't for Masters of the Universe, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool. So there you go. He-Man got our 80s obscure cartoon references in there, and let's hope to goodness that they're actually not going to make another live action version, because I just can't see how it would be any good.
Hope so. Hope so.
Did we talk? Have we met since Halloween? Did we talk about how our Halloweens went? I don't know. Did you mention like what you did and how that went?
I feel like we did, but then maybe we didn't. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember if we did either. I think I know
Yes.
we talked about what we were going to do.
We did, because that was the episode where I was in the car.
Oh, that's right. Of course, the car episode. How could I forget with the parkour? Parkour.
Yeah.
How was it? How did he do in his parkour class?
He loves it. He's good at it. He loves it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's fascinating to watch.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
I didn't even know they had those classes. That's
I know.
cool.
They certainly didn't when we were growing up, but it's interesting to watch these moves. And obviously he's not to the point where he's doing these moves, but the instructor will just show potential. And it's like defying gravity in physics. They'll just jump it like a wall, put his hand on the wall, and do a flip head over heels and then back on the ground. And you're like, what the hell did I just see? that shouldn't be possible. Spider-Man. Running up to something, put his hand, and it's, using physics to your advantage. But to me, it's like, that shouldn't be possible. I don't understand.
He's a Jedi. That's what I think.
So jealous. My midi-chlorian count is so low, it's ridiculous.
I got to get that up. Get that midi-chlorian up.
I did want to mention a parenting win that I had.
Oh,
I'm pretty proud of this one. It goes back to, again, our childhood. Every night we sing a song to our daughter, Madison. We do it to James too, but he's a little older, so there's nights where he's like, just get out of here. We don't care anymore. Like, all right, dude. But Madison's still 6. She loves it. So I've been showing her videos like the Beatles with Rocky Raccoon, who I love, and Yellow Submarine. Mm-hmm. And she's gotten into this thing where it's like, okay, a new song, Daddy, new song. So I've been kind of, I don't know what to do. And I wanted to get into a strong female singer to showcase, potential. If that's what she wants to do, here's a strong female singer. And one of the ones from us growing up is obviously Madonna.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like Madonna. I just don't like Madonna. And I don't want to showcase that kind of woman to my 6-year-old daughter.
You don't want to sing Like a Virgin to your daughter before she goes to bed?
Exactly.
Really?
I don't want to have that talk, 1, and 2, I just don't want that. So I'm really racking my brain, and one of the ones that came to mind was the Eurythmics, and I'm like, yeah, that's great, but I don't know if she quite would understand that. So bam, it was like right there. Cyndi Lauper.
There you go.
So girls want to have fun. Showed her the video. It's such a goofy, fun video.
Yeah.
I was really happy with myself that she got to see just a great young lady at the time. And she's beautiful, although she did the weird thing, doll her hair and all that. And then I showed her an updated picture because she's like, well, what does she look like now? And I showed her, I'm like, wow, she's still quite beautiful. I was very, very surprised. Not surprised.
She has aged well, yes.
Like, wow. But just she's a great singer, great musician. I honestly don't know all that much about her, just her music and her songs, growing up with that. But I was really pleased to be able to show that to Madison and be like, look, this is a great singer. You can do this. And she was her own personality, and it was really cool. So,
yeah, that was the one thing about the 80s that I really feel like is, I don't know if that'll ever happen, but the 80s was, you look at Cyndi Lauper and you look at Madonna too, and the fashion that they had was just, it was all about creativity and self-expression and being unique and different. And do we see that anymore? Like everything's so cookie cutter.
Boy George.
Boy George is another example.
Yeah.
But everything now is so cookie cutter, and it's all about labels and all about, oh gosh, if anything, it's about recycling the past generations. Like all the kids now, they're all like into the grunge wear and the stuff that we were wearing in high school. I see the flannel around. I think of our buddy Chuck Campese, and and nobody with the scrunchie in the hair though. That's in the front. That hasn't come back yet. That was unique to Chuck, I believe. Sure. But that's what's in right now, and I'm like, is this because this is you know, what your parents wore when they were in high school, and so now it's cool for you to wear it in high school. And gosh, I'm old. That's just what I keep. It's just don't
I've
teach
been
high school
waiting for this
people.
moment though, because to be honest, I love my jeans and my flannel. I've worn it the whole time it's happened. So if it's back being
It's back.
cool, yeah, I'm cool again.
It's back. It's back. Don't teach high school, everybody. Dads out there. Like it's just like after a certain age, it's just depressing. It just is like you're just like, wow, wow. Especially when, you know, you start to realize that these kids weren't even born when, you know, you were in college. You know what I mean? Like I mean it's just like you could I don't even want to go into it. It's just it's too much. Too much right now. But kind of funny. So anyway, sidetrack from the 80s fashion. That's really cool. That is definitely a parenting win. Cyndi Lauper. Way to go that direction. Certainly Like a Prayer would not, I don't think, be an acceptable song. Close, you know, because it's got the word prayer in it. And so, you know, some families do their prayers at night before they go to bed, but I don't think anybody plays the Madonna Like a Prayer before
No,
yeah. But you know, it is what it is. That's fantastic. Very cool. Very cool. Well, good. I'm glad that you got a parenting win this week. Any parenting fails of recent?
no, it's been
Good. Smooth sailing, huh?
it has been pretty good.
Nice.
I'm trying to think. Nothing that really stuck out, thankfully.
Good.
How
That's good.
about you?
No, I think it's been pretty smooth sailing, I think. We have been there is this. It's not really a parenting fail, but it's sort of a parenting sort of um conundrum, or at least a sort of I want your let me hear your feedback, and other nerdy dads and moms can weigh in too. My son has just turned 12, and so I had told him that when he turned 12 we could start playing um Injustice, the video game by the creators of Mortal Kombat that has the DC superheroes. And he had seen when he was much younger, when the game first came out, that I had purchased it and I had played it, of course, not when he was around.
Mhm.
And had been chomping at the bit. And so I mean, you're talking, he's been waiting like 4 years to play this game. So he finally turned 12 and he's been playing it, and we've been playing it nonstop, and he's pretty good. Like he beats me, you know, a good half of the time. But I tell you, it is violent. Um, there is a little bit of language, which is sort of annoying. It's like, really, why do you have to say that? Like even Batgirl, like says something like, you know, yeah, I know I'm a pain in the ass or something like that. And it's like, really, Batgirl? Like, why? What are you doing? And then, of course, the female characters are quite scantily dressed, and the anatomy is thought-provoking, maybe is I don't know what's the best way to phrase it. And so it's let me just say that my son, it does prefer playing the female characters. He is you know, he likes being, you know, Catwoman and Harley Quinn and the rest. And I just sort of go, well, you know, I guess it is what it is. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, game ratings, I think I'm very much an advocate for them. I think that they're there for a reason. I think it's important to, you know what your kids are ready for. And that can vary kid by kid and parents by parents. And everybody has, you know, their own values and stuff. And so I'm not here to you know, force mine on anybody and say, how dare you? But it's always been important to me. And I think you feel the same, that you know, make sure that your kids are ready and mature enough for things. And I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? On that game, on you know, the content of it?
It's a conversation I've had in my head a lot. And Allison, well, I haven't really had it with Allison because she just says no. But it's not necessarily the video games. I've played Injustice maybe once on my phone or something.
Uh-huh.
And so I really wasn't paying attention. I did not know that there was the language, and I don't believe I came up against a female character, so that is kind of surprising. But more because I love horror films, it kind of goes to the horror films.
Yeah.
It's like, what stage are we allowed to watch these? Even so much, not necessarily like the Freddys and the Jasons and those, but like Monster Squad, which is a
Right.
goofy movie.
Right.
And at this point, my son's 9. At this point in his life, I believe I had seen it already. I
Right.
know I saw Night of the Living Dead when I was 9, and he's 9. At your son's age of 12, I don't know why my mom finally gave in, but she said, you can watch all these horror films, but you have to watch them with me. And she
Yeah.
hated horror films. But we watched every single thing under the sun, and she was cool enough to do that. And I remember growing up being like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to be cool like that. I'm going to do that for my kids. And now that I have kids like that, I'm like, oh, hell no. No, not going to happen, dude. I'm going to keep you
Yeah.
as innocent as possible, as long as possible, whether it's the video games or the movies. So it is one of those things where I fight myself, where it's like, well, when I was his age, I saw it. What's the big deal? But at the same time, it's like, don't grow up too fast, man. That's it's not worth it. You don't need that.
It's nice to have your kids still enjoy Peanuts and the Muppets and things like that. Keep them kids as long as you can. I'm of that belief too. And so this one's been the one that's been sort of like, and my wife, Megan, she's raised an eyebrow, a couple of times, but, I think it's more that we've rewarded him for the fact that he waited this long. And I mean, in some ways, we've been good about the comic books that he buys, making sure the ratings on those are okay. And really for us, it's the other thing is, I know it's an important value for us is that, I think our young boys need to understand that women, should be respected. And I feel like that's something that maybe I struggle with the most with this game. Like you look at the character Harlequin and the way that she's, clothed in both costume versions that you can choose the different skins or whatever. They're both just like, they just look like street workers, just they look bad. And we finally got the skin where it's the classic from the animated series, and so that's the one he picks all the time. So I guess if anything, it's been a sort of teaching tool about like, hey, this is objectifying women, like this is obviously objectification, and showing women in a light that doesn't make them, that makes, I don't think he understands the idea of objectification, but just that they are inappropriately clothed in a way. So I don't know. It's been interesting. It's a fun game to play, though. I'll tell you that. And if nothing else, he's learned, how to win and lose with tact and sportsmanship, which is something that I think's important, and certainly you can learn that in other arenas as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. I think that about covers it.
Yeah, I think so. So it's been an awesome week, and I'm glad things went well for Halloween and thereafter. And Peanuts movie was awesome. So yeah, you want to take us out?
I will, and I do want to say that make sure you all celebrate Friday the 13th coming up this Friday. It's my favorite holiday, and I know other people love it too. It's a lucky day. Other than that, check us out on YouTube, nerdlocker.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Jason, what do we say?
Have a nerdy week, everybody.